a massive boost for the salmon arm, and both for the First Nations. I think this is the area I'm talking about, that there will be services underground that you can't see that will integrate seamlessly to provide benefit to everyone. But on the surface, I think if we are able to integrate our development, that's why the talk of the development has always been such a councils to get that development to happen seamlessly as well, so that it is one community and service the same services, but also has the same look and feel. And I think it's going to be important as we develop both ways to have that input and to share that information. So one day, I believe that this will happen, and I'm hopeful that it'll happen, because I think everyone's going to win from it. So that's my comment on it. I would like to see it happen, but even if you look across the road from IR7, Lot 7 to Lot 8, and the purpose of that intersection is that there will be more development in this area, very close to the downtown, and I think it's important that in this step, it might just be a small step, but having the letter from the developers to say, we will act in a responsible manner and respect your development guidelines. I think that's a good step that we can ask Chief Leon and his band to take into consideration when there's future developments there, that they do respect the guidelines that we have. And maybe it's an informal process, but I think it's still very important, a very important process that we would take the same consideration as we develop. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any further?
I just have a couple more questions, if I could. Could I just ask Chief Leon a question, if you don't mind? I just need to understand a little bit better, and you've talked about the ends for development on your lands. I hope this is an acceptable question. I know the process that happens here with development permit. What happens is staff works hard with the developer, and then the developer comes to council, and then we have an opportunity here, and often we are able to make some changes, positive changes, to form a character of the. Could you just trace for me what the process would be, say for this developer coming to your band council? I assume that's how it will go.
It's, just in all fairness there, that and I think you agree with me, that there isn't a whole lot of development on our land to begin with. So it's a relatively new process. One of our local CP holders did look around and look for development out his land, solicited a number of people. They in turn came with developmental plans that showed building placement, transportation corridor, parking lot, talked a bit about the infrastructure. And I think it's through their experience in terms of what buildings work, what design works, and taking a look at where our land is situated and some of the access points that start to also put limitations on what you can actually do. The preliminary or conceptual drawings come to our table. We then take a look at them and take a look at some of the similar, like the district, no doubt, challenges of access, safety, health, sewage, not so much sewage, storm treatment. Offer suggestions or concerns about what this is going to look like. They then go back and then design and bring forward again. Now, the actual building, does the building have fire exits? Does it have adequate lighting? Does it have, I don't know, I don't pretend to know, but I do know that a business is not going to move into a building without adequate systems in place. Your insurance, to get insurance, it has to have a building standard. So we don't get it down to it in that detail. So the lot layout, the proposed building sites, access, and emergency, I guess, not so much emergency, but the access points, and what is the business itself? Right, like there's some things we won't entertain on our reserve. And this one here, right now, Canadian Tire is already here in Savannah. Home Depot, it's a building supply place, major one, kind of brings in line with the supply needs to the growth of the region here. There will be minor tenants for sure, but at the same time, they will bring in new business, new employment opportunities, so those are also considered. I know in talking with the mayor in terms of its full complement to Salmon Arm, I believe there's going to be over 150 to 200 jobs there. Not all of them are going to come from our membership. So they will, in fact, create employment in this district. They will contribute. Not everybody's going to come here to shop just at Canadian Tire. You'll go service, you'll go to hotels, you'll go to float. Those things will benefit us all. The actual design process is a lot layout, a lot plan, and the type of business, and I think we just take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, I can see some real potential in that maybe you might even have more control than we might have on our lands in some respects. I'm wondering about things like landscaping, like the aesthetics of the outside of the building, and the opportunity perhaps to personalize that building in some way related to the First Nations culture. Like, is that a part of your thinking or not?
That wasn't incorporated in this particular development. In our administration buildings, it is.
Yeah.
If you've ever come to our community, Chief Atom is a good example. Pierce Point Log Building is so. But not necessarily into our business design. Right now, to be frank, if you will, we take a look at economic growth in our community. If you were to drive through Salmon Arm, you can tell where the reserve starts. Development, nothing. We got to take a look at what our economic needs are in terms of my chief, myself, and our council being able to provide service to our community. And the growth in the area kind of makes it an opportunity time with so much vacant land to start to develop. I think the questions you're asking regarding the regulatory process for development on First Nation land isn't fully developed, isn't stringent. There are not so much restrictions, I guess, in terms of your development bylaws. In fact, they don't apply on the reserve land, and that I can see would be an issue if we full scale and just went haphazardly about it. But right now, the level of interest in our reserve lands is fairly small. I think this particular development will increase that and will also force us to take a look at regulatory are we having there. Can it interface with the districts? I'm not opposed to entering into that dialogue. I think it's one that we need to enter outside of a decision point, right? Like rate lot 7. I want to talk about interface of regulatory process between our two jurisdictions. That's something that needs to be talked about and dialogue over a period of time, not in the sense, and I want to say that I haven't heard it here, that unless you follow our regulations, then we're kind of opposed to the development. That's not what I'm getting to say, but I believe the flip side is, in order for those to be seamless, if you will, they will take time, and it'll take a lot of dialogue. Like I say, I'm not opposed to it. Right now, there is an opportunity in front of us as a community, as a band government, to bring in a level of development. We've seen a couple different developers. The previous one, I kind of agreed with some of this stuff. I have nothing really harsh or bad to say about him. Questions about yes or no always came up. Gary and his company, who he represents, have conducted themselves in a fairly good way. They've demonstrated good building sense, thoughtfulness in both design, access, and consideration. One of the things that I didn't hear mentioned here was the dialogue between Pacific Capital and Piccadilly Mall to ensure that there was a easement through Piccadilly Mall to this development. Piccadilly didn't feel that there was a competing interest that would lose business, but rather a complementary one. That happened as part of how he does business. So I think that is demonstrated in terms of who we do business and what design goes into it, the character of the developer as well. I don't ever have to deal with any fly-by-night things, because our leases are 49 years, so whatever's there is a footprint for a long time.
Thank you very much.